Hello, I'm Robert Jones, and welcome to Powerhouse Podcast. Today, we're going to have with us Topo Padilla, a local bail bondsman. And I want to find out today, do you care about the crime that's happening in your neighborhood? Would you like to know how it could be stopped or curbed? Well, stay tuned and you're going to learn just more about that. We're going to dive into some of the propositions out there and some things coming down the pike. And I think that you would like to know about it. It will help you and your community to possibly be less crime-ridden. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast, presented to you by Sac Life TV. Here's your host, Pastor Robert Jones.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Powerhouse Podcast. I am your host, Robert Jones, and we are blessed to have with us Topo Padilla today, and we're going to talk about something that's been kind of affecting our state, crime, things of that nature, this thing called bail reform. So, Topo, if you don't mind, give us some of your background. How long you've been in the business and work outside the business and so on and so forth.
So in 1979, my parents got into the bail bond business through my uncle, Leonard Padilla, who had been doing it since the early 70s. And so I grew up as a kid, 13, 14, 15 years old, around the business. When I turned 18 years old, I was pretty dead set on becoming a licensed bail agent because you have to be 18. So received my license in 19, when I turned 18 years old, and I've been a licensed bail agent for 41 years. I know it doesn't look like it, but been doing it a long time. It's something you don't do all for the money. You do it for the passion of what we do, which I'm going to get more into explaining exactly what we do. But it's been a long time. At 59 years old, I still have a lot of drive left in me to continue doing what I do.
Anytime someone starts off by saying 19, I know you've been in it a minute, right?
Yeah, I'm in it. Yeah.
So that's awesome. So you've had, so your family's experience, how long would you say cumulative time that they've been in that profession?
Well, my mom and dad both got licensed in 1979. So that's obviously quite a long time, 44, 45 years. My uncle has been doing it just before that. So cumulatively, myself, and now I have a son who is 31 years old. He's been a licensed bail agent. He just told everybody today for 12 years. It's pretty awesome. And it's a family business that a lot of my family's been in. And, you know, the last name Padilla is kind of synonymous with bail. And I'm really proud of that because I know that we brought a different dynamic to bail when my family got into the business. I'm proud of what we've done and the millions of people that we've helped across this nation because we've had an impact across the nation with regard to bail.
That's incredible. You know what I've found out is there are bloodlines that get called to something specific in life. You mentioned your family's been in it for generations. I'm a third generation pastor. Like if I add up my grandfather, my dad, and myself, we've been preaching the gospel over 113 years, I think it is collectively. And it's amazing, isn't it, how like a family can be drawn to something that really is outside them. I think a lot of people say, well, this is what you do as a family business, but I think it's deeper than that. Because you mentioned something to me, you don't do it for the money. So it's like for you, can I go as far as to call it a calling versus a job or a profession?
Absolutely. I'm very involved in my church, and priests don't do it for the money. They do it for the calling. Nuns and teachers that teach in, say, the Catholic schools don't do it for the money. They're doing it for the calling. And when I say that, with the money, it's something that I want to say because it's important that if you look at the risk that we take when we bail people out of jail, or the risk we take when we go get them and apprehend them if they don't go to court, versus the reward, it's a pretty ignorant business solution or business proposition. And I really mean that. And, you know, I'm not trying to sit here and cry poor, but I got to tell you, the risk that we take is enormous. And what it does to us physically, emotionally, and mentally, there's a lot of people in my profession that have suffered some significant health problems, and that's because it is such a stressful business. So the risk versus the reward, it has to be a calling because by no means am I a very, very wealthy man, but I am very rich in the hundreds of thousands of people that I have personally helped. and the families to help change their lives and make a difference in the things that they may have been doing wrong. So it is my calling.
That's really neat, because I believe when people find their calling, it seems like work is not work. I know, like when I start walking to my calling, I didn't feel like work was work anymore. It felt like this is just what I'm born to do. And so it's always gratifying to find that space. So what other work do you do outside the bail bond profession?
So I've been involved with a lot of nonprofits. I started doing fundraising back when my son was a little kid at presentation school, and started helping out raising money for their crab feeds and stuff like that. So I found a calling of really putting on crab feeds and helping nonprofits make money. And it was about 29 years ago that I was at a golf tournament, and the auctioneer was up there, and he started using foul language, and he got a little out of control, and he went to the restroom. My dad was in the car business when I was a kid, and I used to be fascinated with auctioneers. So I became an auctioneer. Professionally, I've been doing it for right around 29 years. I have helped hundreds and hundreds of nonprofits make money when they're having their events, and it's something I have a great passion of doing. And it's kind of one of the funny things. I'll go do an auction for a nonprofit for free. I'll donate my time, and they'll say, "Well, next year I think we're going to go in a different direction. We want a professional auctioneer." And I'm like, "Oh, so if I'd have given you a bill, I'm professional." It's pretty annoying, but I lose their number as quick as they lose mine.
There you go. There you go. So tell us a little bit about the bail profession. How does it work?
So a bail bondsman, I mean, when you think of bail bondsman, again, when I was young, and there was smoke-filled offices, and there was neon signs, and there was people walking around with guns and stuff like that. And then you see what you see on TV. The reality of our profession, and it is a profession because we have to get pre-licensed and we have to do continuing education. So we're not an industry. We are a profession. And it's something I travel across this country preaching to people. The people that want to get rid of the bail bond profession, they use words like industry, and they use words like bounty hunter because they're bad and they have stigma, and they use the word money bail. The fact of the matter is, as a bail bondsman, I am licensed by the California Department of Insurance. I'm an insurance agent. I issue an insurance policy to the court that guarantees that somebody will make all of their court appearances. So when we do that, and we receive the call from either the person in custody or the family member, they call us. Just like car insurance or house insurance, we underwrite the risk. So if your car insurance, they plug it into a computer. You have a 2022 Ford Mustang, and this is how many miles I drive back and forth to work, and all this, and here's my driving record. Well, a computer spits out your annual premium. Well, in the bail bond profession, the standard rate that is charged, that is filed by insurance companies, is 10%. There is other rates that they can file, but let's just work on the word of 10%. So when somebody's in custody and say their bail's $25,000, I've got a $25,000 bond I'm going to put up to make sure that that person goes to court. Now, what do I need to do? Well, first thing I need to do is talk to the defendant and assess his likelihood of showing up to court. And where does he live? Where does he work? What's his criminal history? What's his failure to appear before this? And then based on that, I might want an indemnitor, somebody that's going to co-sign that this person's going to come back to my office, sign their paperwork, and then make all their court appearances. And we underwrite that bond. And we do it right there on the phone with them. We start asking questions and go through that. And bail agents like myself, I'm able to underwrite that bond and assess, okay, I'm going to get you out, but I need your mom to co-sign. And then the cost of the bond is 10% of the bail amount. So a $25,000 bond costs $2,500. People always ask, well, do I get that back when I'm going to court? And I go, do you get your car insurance premium back if you don't get an accident? No, I mean, that's how I'm putting up $25,000. That's how we are compensated. So that's how a bail bond works.
Basically, what you're doing is, this is almost like an insurance policy. They're going to show back up, right? So. Correct. You can just let somebody go, and there's no guarantee they'll show back up. And let's just be honest about it for a minute. If someone broke the law, the case, it's likely that they may not stand up to their obligations. Is that safe to say?
It is. I mean, you think about it, and when they say, hey, the they say the bail industry, or you guys are predators. You're preying on the minority communities. You're preying on the poor people. Look, I'm not preying on anybody. Number one, I don't go arrest people and put them in jail. I don't set their bail. I don't charge them with a crime. What I do is I afford them the constitutional right we have as Americans. There's only 2 countries in the world that have bail bonds, and bail bondsmen like me, and that's the United States and the Philippines. The rest of the world, you stay in jail or a judge releases you. For the most part, you stay in jail. And so here in this country, people say to me all the time, well, why don't we follow like the rest of the world? Why are there only 2 countries that have bail bondsmen? Well, maybe the rest of the world all ought to follow us and afford people the freedom and the right to bail. Because you see, when somebody's released, in fact, I just did a bond just a little bit ago on somebody, and they bailed out of jail, and then the court said, well, we want to put a GPS monitor on them. Well, wait a minute, the person hasn't been convicted of a crime, and now they've got to wear a GPS monitor so that the government can track them and know everything that they're doing. I'm like, why did you post a bond? Why didn't you just put a GPS and you don't need me? So we're pretty crossed up on that, because I do believe in a person's right to bail. I do believe the government shouldn't have to monitor everybody to make sure they're going to go to court, and that's what we do.
So you're saying that you agree with the Constitution that someone is innocent still proven guilty?
I did 1 year in a law school, and the one thing I learned is that standard of proof really and truly is for a courtroom. The standard is in the courtroom that you are innocent until proven guilty. And that courtroom, and what that means is that when somebody's arrested, obviously a police officer has probable cause to believe that they have committed a crime. That police officer then takes and applies whatever charges they see fit, and then the district attorney will get those charges and say, well, this is what we'll charge them with, this, that, and the other. It is a district attorney that does that. But yeah, I do believe that people should be presumed innocent until proven guilty, meaning that I struggle to think that people that if they don't bail out of jail, that that if the government's going to do it, that everybody should be on a GPS monitor. I really struggle with that, because I think that's going down a rabbit hole we don't want to go down.
Yeah, it's kind of it's saying, okay, yeah, you're free, but yet you're not free, right?
Correct.
It's really taking away freedom. So you basically, as a bail bondsman, you're taking on yourself the risk of putting up this money, and you're doing it with the hope that they show up. And if not, then you got to go through, what happens when someone doesn't show up? Yeah. I mean, what do you got to go through then?
Well, I have some statistics that I will bring up as soon as I tell you the story about what you asked. Our job, once somebody misses court, our job is then to hopefully call that defendant up and say, hey, remember we just bailed you out. You missed court. Yeah, I know, I didn't have a ride. Or, I was a little bit worried, whatever. And we can get them back into court without having to go back to jail. We can set up a new court date with the court. We walk them back in. We tell the court we want to reinstate the bond, and then they don't have to go back to jail, and they continue on their merry way. It's when somebody misses court, and now say they're like, hey man, they got scared and they're running amok and gone. That's when I'm going to call that mom and say, hey mom, you co-signed for that $25,000 bond. We have 6 months in California. We have 6 months to get them back to court. If I don't get that person back in 6 months, I, Topo Padilla, have to pay the court $25,000. Not my insurance company, me and my father. We own our company together. We pay the court $25,000. The insurance company that I have above me, what they're there to cover is, let's say me and my father go out of business and we take off running, the insurance company then steps in and does it. But everybody thinks, if you lose a bond, you don't have to pay it. Oh, yes, we do. Then I go to the mother and say, now you owe me $25,000. That's part of the contractual obligation. And that's why I will tell you that at our company, the way we operate our business, we have had, my dad's been in the business since 1979, we have had less than 30 bail bonds that we've had to pay the court in our company. That's the way my dad and now I operate. But just like my uncle that was in the business, we didn't operate, well, we're going to have some losses. It's okay if this one and that one and this one get away. No, we are persistent and we chase every single person. And people know you bail out with the Padillas, you're going to go to court. If not, they'll come get you and they're going to bring you back. And I have to say, if I can get into that, a fugitive, they ain't right. When they're a fugitive, They ain't living right. They're looking over every shoulder. Their stomach's not right. They're probably not working. They're probably not taking care of their family. It's not a good thing. And so what we do, and when I catch people, and again, for 41 years, when I catch people, I always say to them, hey, how do you feel now? And I honestly can tell you this, I've had around 5 people say, I don't feel good. I'm mad, I'm going to jail. Most of them are, man, I'm done. I'm tired of running. I'm tired, man, I don't do it. I just played somebody a video, the guy the other day, he told me, he says, man, it ain't good. It ain't good. That man called me after he got in jail and he says, you know what, I do feel better. So.
That's awesome. I did not know a lot about the industry, but it sounds like to me, you guys kind of create this layer of accountability. Is that safe to say?
You just used a word that has been my favorite word for the last 2 years. I just finished serving as the president of the National Bail Association, professional bail agency in the United States. I was elected there 2 years ago, and I traveled across the country. And when I set out on my mission to go to these different states, the word that I used, first word that I used was profession. We are a profession. Secondly, the word I used was accountability, because that's what we bring to the system. Because I say this, and you know, police officers, they don't have the time to worry about if somebody makes it to court or not. That's not their job. The district attorney, you know, they've got a job to go into courtroom and prosecute. The judge, that's not their job either. The defense attorney, that's not his job. We are the only person in the whole thing that has the responsibility of making sure that that person is in court. And if they're not, we have the accountability to go get them and bring them back to court.
And make them accountable. I like that. I like that.
That's correct.
Well, we're going to take a short break here, but we're going to get into why does bail exist in the United States? We're going to talk about criminal reform and bail reform. And lastly, we're going to go into the revision of Prop 47. So stay tuned if you want to learn more about this. I think it's very interesting and you're going to learn a lot. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We would like to thank Mosley Collins for sponsoring Powerhouse Podcast. And if you are in need of any legal help, please dial 916-444-4444. All fours for legal help. Thank you, Mosley, for your support.
Sac Live TV is proud to sponsor the Powerhouse Podcast with Pastor Robert Jones. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please contact us at info@saclife.tv.
Are you looking for substance in your podcasts? Look no further. Introducing the Powerhouse Podcast. Join us every week as we delve into politics, religion, entertainment, and education. Don't miss out. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and be part of the Powerhouse Podcast community. For more information, visit our website, powerhousepodcast.net. Welcome back to the Powerhouse Podcast. We've been talking to Topo Padilla. And my first question, Topo, is you explained that the bail bond is like getting insurance. And I wanted to know, is that like, do you shop for it? Are there different types of bail bonds that you can purchase? What does that look like?
Yeah, so as a bail bondsman, I am, again, licensed by the California Department of Insurance, and I am not like a car insurance. I can't write car insurance policies or health insurance or life insurance policies. We have our own line of insurance. So yes, we do issue what is called technically a surety bond to the court. And it's a very competitive business. There's in each community throughout the state of California, and for the most part, the United States, except for about 7 states, there is bail bondsmen like myself. Again, very competitive. In California, speaking California alone, our rates are filed with the Department of Insurance. So most bail bonds, they have 10%, 8%, and a 7% rate. So yeah, people can and people do call around. The only thing that separates each bail bondsman outside of the price is the service. The service you're going to get. And I didn't throw this suit on to come in here and do this today. I personally wear a suit to work every day, and I have my staff dressed professionally because we're interacting with the public, and we're interacting with people that may not have too many people that sit eye to eye with them. There's a lot of people talking down to them or look at them. I'm going to tell you the one term that I cannot stand people use in our business is when people say, oh, a dirtbag. I bet you deal with a lot of, different kind of people, little savory people. No, I deal with human beings that just happen to be in a situation that I can help them through. And there's love nothing more than sitting eye to eye with them. So yeah, people do, they shop around because maybe they don't have all the money. You know, somebody's bail set at $25,000. Maybe they don't have $2,500 laying around for bail premium. They got to make their, maybe their house payment or car payment or buy some food. So we do, in our profession, we do payment plans. And, people do shop around, but I think what's going to separate the people that have been around for a long time and those that are here and there is the customer service and what you're dealing with.
That's great. So you mentioned 25,000. Is that kind of a typical bond, or is that just an example? Naturally, I would think the more serious the offense, the higher the bail. Is that correct?
It is, and it's a problem in California. It's a problem that I've been trying to address in California since 2008. I was the president of the state association for over a decade, and I stepped down when I became the national association president. However, I started fighting with the courts, and specifically here in Sacramento, because our bail schedules kept getting higher and higher and higher. And you might say, well, that's stupid. Why would you not be all for higher bail? That's more money for you. Look, enough is enough. And bail is not meant to be punitive, meaning if somebody, broke into somebody's car and stole their golf clubs, sure, the person whose golf clubs got stolen is pretty ticked off, but that doesn't mean, well, if he steals a nice set of clubs, his bail should be even higher. No, that's just not the way it should work. There's a schedule that they have at the jail, and if somebody's arrested for burglary and burglary tools and maybe drugs, their bail's set at $10,000, $20,000. And then they look at their criminal history and their failure to appear rate. So those are the things you look at. And again, in California, our bail rates are the highest, not the rates, the way bail's set, the highest in the country. And I've been advocating to lower them. Chill out. You go to places like Alabama, Florida, you steal a car, honestly, your bail might be $750, $1,000. Well, I can tell you this as a bail bondsman, you're going to pay me $75, and I'm going to make sure you go to court for $750. I have no incentive there. And really, you have no incentive to go to court. You come down, here's the $750. I'm not going to court. See ya. There's a balance, and you have to find that balance. But bail schedules in California are too high, and that's why, when we talk about bail reform and criminal justice reform, they got a target on our back because of the bail schedules.
They want to take away the bail because of the schedules. They said it's not fair, yet they made the schedules?
Yeah, they use the word reform. They use the word reform. It's a funny word. I grew up with a different definition of reform. Reform means fix them, right?
Right.
Their bail reform is elimination. And when I say they, I'm going to say specifically here in California, it's been the Democratic Party in California that has wanted to get rid of our profession in the name of the damage that we do to minority communities and the poor people. Well, again, we don't make the bail schedules. In the state of California, and I'm speaking about here, the state of California bail schedules are set by the judges of each county. So each county annually is supposed to get together, their judges are, and they make their bail schedules. Well, they're the ones who keep raising them, not me. And in fact, our profession, we have lowered our rates because we're like, that's crazy that we're going to charge that much. So in the name of that, they want to eliminate us, and they've tried. And as you may or may not know, but there was a Senate bill, SB 10, and it eliminated bail. And then our profession and many other groups got together, including the NAACP, when they finally came around and saw the light and said, wait a minute, if you get rid of bail, there's going to be more people of color sitting in jail because some judge isn't going to let them out. They're not going to be out, and there's not going to be you, the bail bondsman, to afford them the constitutional right to bail. So they, along with the voters of California, we did Proposition 25, and by more than 2 million votes, we prevailed. And then we need to think 2 million, that's it? It was a significant win. That the voters of California said, no, we do not want bail eliminated. And that movement has stopped across this country. And I can speak to that because other states were going to try it, and they went, ooh, if crazy California said no to getting rid of bail, maybe we ought not to try that here. And so it's pretty much stopped, but they're trying to do it in other ways. Like if you look at Los Angeles instituted a zero bail policy. And people were thinking, well, zero bail, what does that mean? Zero bail means if you get arrested there, unless it's a violent crime or a sex crime or something like that, you get released. You get released. And I'm going to tell you, a few years ago, our now sheriff, Jim Cooper, he was an assemblyman. He was on the assembly floor testifying on SB 10, and he had called the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and asked him how many warrants there was. Back then, this was in 2018, there was 2.1 million warrants in the system in Los Angeles. That's a quarter of the population of Los Angeles that has a warrant. Yeah. Looking at it that way. Quarter of the population. Those are people that ain't living right. They ain't living right. Because who cares if those people don't go to court? And I'm going to ask them, who cares? Who cares?
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing about it is, people go, why is crime on the rise? It's like we pass these policies that actually foster crime. It fosters crime. Because if there is no penalty for getting caught and you're just going to catch and release, they're just going to go back and keep doing it because there's no consequence of it. Look, you got 2.1 million people that have arrest warrants. You don't have enough cops in the state of California to go arrest all those people. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To find them, track them down. It's just crazy. It makes no sense.
I'll give you another statistic. And I did this, I've been doing this report since 2008, because this is when I kind of started. I said, well, how many warrants are there in Sacramento County? Now, back there when I started doing this report, there was about 70,000 warrants in Sacramento County. Jeez. And then I went to the courts and said, how many people are out on bail right now that are running, that have missed court? And I got the number with 70,000 warrants, and it was less than 300. Today, when I do that report, there's about 36,000, and I just did it a couple months ago. There's about 36,000 active warrants in Sacramento County, people that have missed court. I swear, less than 200 are out on bail. Out on bail. The rest of them are out on, I promise I'll go to court. I'll promise to go to court. They're not making it to court. They don't go to court. Who's going to look for them? Law enforcement can't do that. They don't have the wherewithal to do that. So I'm not saying everybody should have to bail out of jail through a bail bonds. I am not advocating for that at all. But some people earn the right to have to call a bail bonds and not have the taxpayers of California pay for their release. And right now, a lot of these counties are releasing people on these pretrial systems where probation's monitoring them. They're putting GPS monitor. The taxpayers are funding those whole programs. And when those people don't go to court, the cops can't look for them. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. That's our job.
Mm-hmm. I have to go back to accountability, right? I mean, when we remove that layer of bail, what we're doing is now we're just saying, hey, come back. But there's no accountability to come back. And if they don't, well, maybe we'll arrest them someplace down the line. And no one is learning or growing from that. If anything, people are being hurt. Businesses are being hurt. I mean, heck, look what's happening retail-wise, where people just go in and take what they want and they leave. I mean, why? Because there's absolutely zero consequences for it, right? And so when there's no consequences, you're going to find repeat behavior,
Yeah, and I think where this state and some other states, to it, New Mexico, New York, New Jersey, places like that, you got to ask yourself, man, do these politicians that are voting to eliminate this accountability, this organization that does accountability, do they really care about people? Do they want to see people change? Because I got to be really, really truthful with you. There's no greater satisfaction I get than when I bail somebody out of jail, they go to court, they get their case resolved, they walk back in my office and they said, hey, I'm all done. I got to go to a drug court, or I got to do this, or I got to go to a diversion program, and I'm all done. And it's behind me. That's when I feel like, man, I've done my job. I've helped them change. I mean, our profession, I'm telling you, if you knew people across this country, my profession, it literally gives me the chills right now in my body to know what we do for people, the compassion we have. My father and I just sat with this couple, she's got a drinking problem, pretty significant drinking problem. We talked to her, said, well, what's it going to take? I mean, what is it going to take? She goes, this has got my attention because now I'm out on bail. You see, I wasn't out on bail before. They released me on a signature, and I went out and got drunk and got caught driving again. Now I'm out on bail. Now I got to go to court. Now I got to fly right. Otherwise, I'm going to be knocking on her door if she misses court. And to hear that makes me, I went, that's why we exist, to make sure that people go to court and make sure they get their life right, man. And I got to, just like you, do these people that have these policies who don't care about accountability, do they really care about people? It's just like the homeless people out on our streets. Do they really care about the man that's sitting under a cardboard box? Because if they did, they'd do something about it. And that gets me emotional. So
Oh, bro.
that's another day, my friend.
You're preaching to the choir on that deal. You know, we say we love, but all of our actions are anything but that, you know? And so I side with you 100%. What was kind of the genesis of the bail in the United States, and why do we have bail? Can you kind of go down that road a little bit?
Bail it goes back to the Magna Carta. And I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty smart about bail and all that, but I don't get too caught up talking about those early times of bail and all that stuff. What I can talk about is back in the days of the Western, you know, the cowboys and the farmers and all that. I can go back to when somebody got arrested and they were sitting in that old wooden jail cell, that they didn't have bail bondsmen per se. They would literally turn the inmate, the defendant, over to a farmer and they, hey, you're responsible. You make sure he goes to court. And they took him out and they put him to work and made him go to work, but they made sure they were back in that court. And I remember hearing about that historical aspect of our business. And then I got to come all the way forward to the 40s when surety bail really took off and what I do today. And when you talk about surety bail and you say, well, what other kind of bail is there? There's some states that I don't have an insurance company behind me. The bail bondsman literally puts up, say, $1 million in property, and his $1 million in property guarantees all the bonds he writes will make sure they go to court. So we have different kind of bail bondsmen, but places like Oregon, they don't have surety bail bondsmen. You put up 10% to the court, they could care less if you come back. They could care less because they got your money. Oh, yeah, if you land on the hood of a cop car and you get arrested again, oh, okay. But there's not. Or, you know, this is no disrespect to law enforcement. They're not running around looking for you. So places like Oregon, you either stay in jail or you pay to get out. Well, at least here in California, you can pay me a bail bondsman. You can pay me 10% of the bail amount or 8% or 7%. I can get you out, let you live right, let you do your thing, but you're going to go to court and you're going to be held accountable. And you're not going to run amok and be a fugitive for as long as you want.
Yeah, you know, I'm a big proponent of bail. The reason being, I know someone personally, and they got caught up doing the wrong thing, and a good person, but made the wrong decision, and that led to the arrest. And with all of that, he posted bail, he got out, but I have literally seen a 180 in this dude. I mean, it's been amazing the change I've seen in him. He owns a business. So, you know, if he would not have been able to make bail and come out, his business would have went under, his wife would have had no income, his employees would have been left without a place to work. I mean, it would have been catastrophic for him and people associated with him. But because of the bail, he posted, he then came out. He's been going through the court process, made huge changes in his life. He's got his company set up now, and he's made changes so that if he is prosecuted, regardless of the change he's made, if he is prosecuted, he told me just the other day, he goes, look, if I have to go to prison, then that's where God wants me, and I'm okay with that. I know I have to do something there. But he's totally gotten free of those things that got him in that situation, which was drugs. But got totally free of that kind of thing. And now he's like made a huge difference. But if it wasn't for that ability to bail, if they would have just let that dude go, there ain't no way. But he had to actually put up some house money, like his house. Well, his wife lived there. So if he skipped, she didn't have a house now, right? So it forced him to like make some serious decisions, go, I got to do what's right. And so, but without bail, if that dude would have just been let go, he'd been right back doing the same thing. I'm just telling you right now, I know him. And he says that. I said, what would you do if they would just let you go? And he said that to me. We're going to.
Can I say something?
Yeah, please.
I feel like I know who you're talking about. Because you know why? I have a dozen of those types of people out on bail right now that are hardworking people that own houses and they make a mistake. People, whether they did that in their past and now they're doing it again and they just made that one mistake. There's those people. And then there's the people that they don't have a job. My dad always says this, and I'm going to say it, and I might offend some people. We got to fix the family.
Come on.
We got to fix the family. And a lot of these people didn't grow up with fathers.
Absolutely.
And they broke up in a broken family, and man, that's who I want to help.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can be there, and my father, or my son, or my staff can be there to help somebody, that's what we do in our profession.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about Prop 47. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. We would like to thank Mosley Collins for sponsoring Powerhouse Podcast. And if you are in need of any legal help, please dial 916-444-4444. All fours for legal help. Thank you, Mosley, for your support.
Sac Live TV is proud to sponsor the Powerhouse Podcast with Pastor Robert Jones. If you'd like to be a sponsor, please contact us at info@saclife.tv.
Are you looking for substance in your podcasts? Look no further. Introducing the Powerhouse Podcast. Join us every week as we delve into politics, religion, entertainment, and education. Don't miss out. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast platform and be part of the Powerhouse Podcast community. For more information, visit our website, powerhousepodcast.net.
Hello and welcome back to Powerhouse Podcast. I am your host, Robert Jones, and I am here, Topo Padilla, and we are talking today about bail reform. Let's just go into that. Criminal justice reform and bail reform. What is criminal justice and bail reform? First of all,
in California, criminal justice reform was the brainchild of then Governor Jerry Brown under the auspices. Well, we got to reduce the populations in prisons because we're going to be taken over by a federal consent decree. Then they say, well, we have the most people in our prisons in the state of California. And in fact, the United States has most people in prison. Well, maybe that's because we have criminal justice systems that work. And that's why we have the safest and greatest country in the entire world, because we hold people accountable. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, criminal justice reform is, there's a lot of people of color, minorities, that are in our prisons. Okay, if that's the case, do you change the rules so that we change the number of people of color that are in jail? Okay, and I use this metaphor is that I can decrease the strikeouts in Major League Baseball. What I'm going to do is increase the number of strikes that you have to strike out to 6. So now you get 6 strikes before you're struck out. That'll change the number of strikeouts there are. And that's the kind of ignorance they used in saying that what we're going to do, like with Proposition 47 and other criminal justice reforms, is instead of this being a felony, we're going to make it a misdemeanor. And now they say crime's down. Fewer people are in prison. Fewer people in jail. That was really cool. You just changed the rules. Did you change the behavior of people?
Come on.
Did you? Absolutely not. And if anybody wants to tell me that Proposition 47, which was safe schools and safe neighborhoods, again, the biggest fraud that was ever pulled on the voters of California, having the Attorney General of California, who does the title in summary, and I won't name her, that's making that title, Safe Schools and Safe Neighborhoods, that you're going to say that Proposition 47 was about that? No, it was about reducing the people who are in prison. And the way they were going to do that, they were going to send fewer people to prison. And I'm going to sit before you and tell you right now, I think our prison system's broke. That's what's broke. Because it is not the California Department of Corrections. They don't correct anybody in there. They house people, they treat them like, animals. And this is nothing against the prison guards. This is nothing against the people running the prisons. It's against our mindset and our state. If we're going to have our prisons, they're just going to house people and cage them like caged animals, then they're never going to get better. But if we really work to correct them in there. So I don't believe on sending everybody to prison, but I do believe we ought to have places where people can go and get fixed. and get their lives straightened out. So when we talk about criminal justice reform, that's all they did is they changed the rules. And what did they do? They've done what we've got going on in the state of California right now. We've got lawlessness going on throughout more than anywhere else in this country, and that's because of Proposition 47.
Oh, it's been amazing. I've been kind of following all the companies that are moving out of California and businesses shutting down simply because they can't incur any more of the loss that they are from theft and thievery and crime. They just can't afford it anymore. And so it's been one of those things, because when you minimize a crime, you just open the door for more to do that, because the penalty's not there, right?
If you take away the correction of bad behavior, and you have no correction of bad behavior, the bad behavior is just going to miraculously go away. It's not. It's going to get worse and worse. I use this sample. If we stop a kid at stealing a candy bar and stopped him there and punished him there, taught him you can't steal, he would not graduate to an iPhone and then graduate to a car and then graduate to maybe doing a commercial or residential burglary and then going to prison or getting killed. But if we've taken away stopping them at the candy bar, as long as the iPhone's less than $950, steal all you want.
Yeah, and it's really, we mentioned a little bit earlier about family, and it is about family. When welfare was enacted for the very first time, one of the stipulations was that a father couldn't be in the house.
Yes.
Knowing that fathers are needed in the house, a mother is needed. You need that full unit, right? And so one of the stipulations is a father couldn't be in the house, and B, you couldn't have a job. And so basically what was happening is we were having these kids raised in fatherless homes with a amount of income that's not really enough to survive. You're barely making it. So what do you do to compensate? You go commit crime. And then you go, well, why is the prisons mostly brown? Why is it mostly people of color? Well, you've pigeonholed these people by making laws that didn't really help them. You called it help, but it wasn't help. And then now they're in this place. And then the prisons, I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, I was just watching a documentary on Netflix, and it's about a sheriff in Little Rock, Arkansas, and he went into the harshest pod of his prison. Now, in case you don't know, Little Rock, Arkansas is one of the highest crime rate cities in America,
yes.
Right? And he went in there, and they were on lockdown 23 hours a day. They were out of their cell 1 hour a day. And he goes in and he says the following: I'm going to conduct an experiment. We're going to open doors and leave them open 24/7. No jailer is going to be in this pod. We'll be outside. Everything is monitored via camera. If I see you guys fighting, acting up, breaking rules, we will come back in and we'll go back down to a lockdown of 23 and free for 1. And so it's this experiment that he's doing. And I've watched 3 episodes. I'm not through it yet. But what was amazing is those hardened, you got people in there for capital murder. You've got all ages, from young all the way up to the olders. And what you're seeing is all of a sudden now they're actually policing themselves. Why? Because you just put accountability in their pocket, and you're saying, if you do right, you're free. If you do wrong, you're back in there for 23 hours. I wish California could actually reform our young men and young women that go to prison. I just wonder what kind of recidivism. Thank you. Right, that we would have if we actually participated in true reform instead of changing laws to make it okay. It's not a crime now, because eventually, what's going to happen? We're just going to get more and more and more crime ridden, right? Mm-hmm. And there's going to be no true change. So, what are some of the revisions of Prop 47 you would like to see happen?
Well, one of the things that we have to address, the first thing it did is it took a lot of felonies. It took giving somebody a date rape and made it a misdemeanor. It took,
crazy. That's just crazy.
Stealing things that had to total up to $950, or it was a misdemeanor. And then it took away, there used to be a thing called petty with a prior. If you got caught petty theft, You did it a second time, it became a felony. And that got your attention, okay?
Yeah.
They took all those things like that away. They literally made it to where, honestly, you could have a pile of cocaine in front of you. As long as it wasn't for sale, if it was for personal use, it was a misdemeanor. So then I hear people say, well, the cops won't do anything. The cops don't do nothing. If somebody steals something, the cops don't do it. Hey, the cops didn't make the rules. 120 legislators did, along with the governor. Now, I'm going to correct that. That was a ballot initiative, Proposition 47. It was put on the ballot by the governor and the legislature. It wasn't put on there by getting a bunch of signatures. And then the wool was pulled over the voters' eyes. Safe schools and safe neighborhoods, I repeat again, had nothing to do with that. I just attended an event yesterday, and one of the architects of Proposition 47, she was there, and she said, since Proposition 47 has been enacted, the state has saved over $800 million by closing down some prisons, $800 million. And we've taken that money and we've made an enormous impact in our state in drug rehabilitation and mental health. I looked at her, I said to her face to face, I said, I can't believe you publicly would say that. Because let me take you for a walk down K Street. Let me take you through Del Paso Heights or Oak Park.
Yep.
And you're going to tell me you're making a difference. The nonprofits, and excuse me, I'm not putting them all in here, but the nonprofits and those people that run these nonprofits, yeah, their pockets are lined. Because I really say this, and I say this to the mayor of this city. If they really cared, we're talking about throwing another $200 million at this, and I ain't seen a change. In fact, it's getting worse out here on the street. So back to, criminal justice reform. I really don't know that they care. All they care about is one thing: the people of color. Do you know who? I don't know if you knew who Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson is. He's from Los Angeles, and a few years ago, way back in 2008, he testified at the state capitol. And Bob Hertzberg, he used to be addressed as a senator, but his name is Bob. And our now Attorney General Rob Bonta were sitting there. And this is an African-American pastor out of Los Angeles. And he said, you know what the problem is? And it got real uncomfortable. Reggie Jones Sawyer was the chair of the Public Safety Committee. He says, you know what the problem is? You people don't even like black people.
Ooh.
He said that in a public safety hearing. They turned that man's microphone off. That was a black man who said that. And you know why he was able to say it? Because he said them. Because you know why? You people don't care. Because all these people you're letting out of jail and prison, they're coming back to my community. They ain't going to yours. And he said, they ain't going to Maxine Waters' community. They're coming to my community, and they're hurting my people, and they're raping our women. He said that in a public safety committee hearing. That man had every right in the world to say that, and they turned that man's microphone off because the fact is they don't want to hear it. And it gets me emotional because that man was right. I'd love to have him sit here with you.
Oh, no. And it is true. It is true. They don't really care because if they did care, their focus wouldn't be we saved 800 million. Their focus would be we saved 800,000 lives. We changed 800,000 lives.
Amen.
This many young men or this many young women have been reformed. And ladies and gentlemen, part of the reason that we have this podcast, it is to think, to discuss in a deep way, not to persuade anyone of anything, because I believe that human beings are intelligent. With that statement, I am also under the absolute and total belief that you, the American public, are not being challenged intellectually, and that we're being fed spoonfuls of garbage, and it's leading to the deterioration of our culture and our country. And until you, the American public, start looking deeply into these things and really look behind what these politicians are actually doing and writing and supporting, my friends, you are part of the problem. And I love you. But I'm just telling you, if you're making a decision without truly thinking, using the God-given gift you have of a brain and intellect, you're part of the problem. Please don't make your decisions based on a 15-second spot during the news. I pray to God that you actually research and look into these things. Look into who's passing these bills. Look at the repercussions and what is happening, the tidal wave of crime. You guys, it's so important that as a culture that we really reflect and go, really, what's the cause of this? So I believe until we start demanding demanding as the American public that true change happens. I don't care if your slogan is change. That doesn't mean garbage to me. I want to see something that actually causes change and something that makes a difference in the long run. I think of all the young men that are locked up and the young women that are locked up. And look, we have a church in a really rough area. There was one time that in our church we had 3 people on ankle monitors. They were all on probation, right? And they were all on ankle monitors. And my job with those people was to help them get housing, help them get straightened out, help mentor them, help them to create a life that would not lead to more oppression and lead to more crime and things of that nature. Tell us more in this ballot initiative, to the revision. Where is it at the process now, and what's the next steps with it?
So that's one of the things. The other day I got to go out in front of Ace Hardware. Ace Hardware had a big drive to collect signatures to get this on the ballot. So what people don't understand, ballot initiatives, once they become, they get enough signatures, they could become a proposition in California. Not every state in the United States has ballot initiatives and or propositions. Luckily enough, we do here in California. I say that, but then again, I hate it because people will title a ballot initiative or a proposition, every kid gets a brand new backpack. And oh my gosh, isn't that great? And what does it do? Oh, it makes dealing heroin, illegal. I mean, I'm kind of get really stupid to think like these politicians.
No,
you're
right.
And I hate to say that. I'm not labeling all of them like that, but a good number of them. No. With that being said, people will vote shiny things. You man, just a second ago, shiny things. You put a shiny thing in front of most of our voters, and they're off to the races, and they'll buy into anything. And I've watched this big push to get everybody to vote, get everybody out to vote, and I'm thinking, man, what's this whole thing with getting out everybody to vote? Because they want to get everybody out to vote because they don't care if they're educated or not. That's more votes that they feel if they give you a chicken in a pot, right? Everybody gets a chicken in a pot. And, we know that where that came from, that we'll get more people to vote and they'll vote for us. And I got to tell you, being of Hispanic descent, the Mexicans that I speak to, the Mexicans that are here working, that came here to this country legal, and I don't want to get too far off in immigration, they're pissed. Excuse me. They're mad. They ain't happy. And I'm going to tell you this, talked to a lot of people of color, African-American community, and they ain't happy. I just went to an event the other day for Equal Justice Now down in Los Angeles. And I just, every time I go to this event, I think about all these people that they're honoring that are standing up and working towards having equal justice for people of color. And then somebody gets up there and tells these men of color how oppressed you are and how downtrodden you are and how this one man got up there and says, I'm tired of being run by the white slave master. In 2024, to use those words, he ought to have been thrown out of that room. He ought to have been just chucked out of that room. If you want to convince all these people of color that we are still oppressed and you are still oppressed, come on. No, you lift them up. You empower them. You want to do something. If I want to see the NBA do something, the NFL, instead of seeing this crap in the end zone, sorry.
No, why don't we knock yourself out?
Why don't we go do something about it? I want to see what the NFL has really done in the African American community. I want to see what the NBA's really done. I want to see what these very multi-millionaire wealthy players, what have you really done? What, throwing $100,000 at some program? What, you think you're going to make a difference? No, show me. I'm from Missouri, right? Show me. Yeah. Show me what you're doing. So again, to ball this whole thing up, it's about accountability. Yeah. And if we have accountability on the homeless, money that's used for homeless, if we have accountability on these programs for mental illness and for substance abuse, and we really true, I like what you said, $800,000, $800 million, show me 800,000 people you helped. I like that. That's going to be my new slogan, because that's when you'll make a difference. That's when you'll get me to buy in. And summing it all up, I told somebody, there was just a ballot initiative on Proposition 1 about throwing more money at mental health and all that. I would have voted for that in a heartbeat, to open up more hospitals.
Right. If
I thought this legislature and this governor would responsibly spend that money properly, just like SB1, the road tax, the gas tax, they ain't spending that money properly, right? I don't think for a mere moment the money that was passed in that proposition that was just on the ballot, I don't think it's going to be properly used.
No.
I sadly enough, California legislature, and I know quite a few of them on both sides of the aisle, man, they ain't right.
No, I agree. Well, when they spend 1.7 million on a one restroom toilet and one sink restroom in San Francisco, 1.7 million, and all of it was donated, something is wrong. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that this has got you thinking. I hope that you know that you do have power. You have power in a vote. Now, please don't make a vote uneducated. Research, look. You know, hey, you got this great thing that you can Google nowadays and look things up. Don't take people's word for it. Go look for yourself and understand it. And I pray that you become more aware and start making changes that's going to help some people that maybe can't help themselves. Because if we don't do it, who will? Hey, thanks again for being with us here at Powerhouse Podcast. I want to thank SAC Life TV for the sponsorship. Joanne, thank you so much for being with us. You've been a blessing as always. And Mr. Topapadia, thank you, sir. I appreciate you bringing this topic to us. And I've learned a lot myself. So thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Hello, I'm Robert Jones, your host of Powerhouse Podcast. And you just heard, actually, from Topo Padilla. We just had him on the show. But there's been a recent development where one of his employees was actually murdered right in front of his business. And it has to do with this bail reform and the laws that are passed. He's going to be with us next week, and we're going to talk to him about Kevin Brace, the gentleman whose life was taken from him. And we invite you to come to that podcast and listen and watch. It's pretty impactful, pretty emotional, pretty charged, but I hope you come and tune in for it. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, remember to subscribe, rate, and review us on your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us in our mission to engage in deep conversations that impact mindsets and create a practice of introspection. Do you have an idea or a topic for a show? Message us at php@saclife.tv. Remember, your voice matters, and together we have the power to influence positive change in our world.